Good day, colleagues. I am Renette van der Merwe, and today I'm going to be discussing with you the memo for paper 2 of the June examination for grade 12 that was written on Monday. And in this memo, we are going to do just the discussion of more or less the marking guidelines. The time is not enough to every time go and also look at the questions and how to solve the questions. So please bear with me if I am just focusing on how to mark the paper more. Let us start right away. Colleagues, you will see when the marking guidelines start, and here in the beginning of the marking guideline, you will start off by getting an explanation of the symbols that is going to be that we use in the marking guideline or the memo. So please make sure that you see what each of these symbols are going to be standing for, and as we go along in the memo, I will also emphasize what are we going to how are we interpreting each of these symbols. At the beginning of the marking guideline, I have placed for you also a note. This note is typically the same as what we find in the grade 12 final examination or the NSC papers when we go for marking of those papers. And I thought it wise if we also include it when we are marking the mark of our learners, especially in this time of COVID when our learners are maybe not so advantaged as in previous times, and we need our learners to score optimally in the SPA to give them the best chance at the end of the year also then to benefit from the SPA mark. Colleagues, it's simply just, if I can give you an indication shortly of what it says. It says that if a candidate answers a question twice, we only mark the first attempt. In other words, we ignore the second attempt. That is if you can clearly see that it was done once and another time. If a candidate has crossed out or has cancelled an attempt, and the candidate do not do that attempt, that question again, then we are going to mark whatever the candidate has cancelled to give the candidate then the benefit of the doubt that the candidate did attempt the question the first time. Consistent accuracy applies in all aspects, and you will see it throughout the memo, the CA. I will explain it also. However, it stops at the second calculation error. You will see nowadays we do have some rules for when we are applying the consistent accuracy, and we do not just bluntly apply it in all cases. Colleagues, you will see also when I am discussing the marking guideline, I'm going to give you an indication of certain parts of the answers which is going to be marked independently. And if I say it's marked independently, it simply means that you can discuss it, you can consider it as kind of a separate entity. So then we can apply, for example, this rule a couple of times in the same answer. But I'll find a place in the memo to explain to you this more clearly. No CA mark follows after a breakdown. I will also give you some examples in the memo. A breakdown is where the learner really do a lot of nonsense, and it is totally so that you cannot see any marks in that work of the learner. Then we call it a breakdown, meaning certain for sure that the learner is having no idea of no clue of how to solve that problem, and then we are not going to give a CA mark, so you don't have to sit and stress yourself to work through all the work of the learners just to at the end of the day give a CA mark. If the candidate presents an extra solution when reading from a graph, a table, a layout plan, or a map, then penalize for every extra item presented. I will also make this for you clear when we are doing some of the questions, especially when we are going to work with the map. I will give you some examples. general principle of marking, and I want you to be very clear about this, because sometimes if we do follow the explanation, it is as if you end up that the learner end up getting full marks, but the answer of the learner is not correct. The general principle of marking is that if the candidate makes one mistake, the candidate must lose a mark. If the candidate makes two mistakes, the candidate must lose 2 marks. In other words, a candidate cannot get full marks if the candidate made a mistake, even if you are following the explanation here on the right-hand side. So if you come up to a point where you did follow these explanations, and on the left-hand side you see the candidate did not do the question correctly, you are going to apply the rule that the candidate made one mistake, the candidate must lose 1 mark. Many times also in the more complicated questions where the questions count more marks, we come up to a point where we work these things actually backward, where we actually go and subtract marks for the learners and not do it positively, where we work with these mark allocations that you see under the explanation column. Okay, that enough for the general remarks on marking. Let us start right away with question 1. Colleagues, you will see that this paper is now, these are now the first common papers that we are giving to you, which was set now in the new format. At the end of last year, you were supposed to set for grade 10 and 11 learners yourself in the new format papers. But this is now the first time that we are going to give you from our side common papers. This is now for our grade 12s that they are going to write. In September, they will write again the new format, and in the end of the year, we will get from DBE the new papers in the new format. Unfortunately, we did not get any exemplars yet from DBE, but we are still hopeful that they will be coming. So what you see right now here is the Free State interpretation of the examination guideline of 2021 and of how we see the paper should be set according to the new format. Now, for June, the prescription is that the papers must only be 100 marks, and that is for 2 hours. And the question 1 must be all level 1 questions. And it must be a combination of maps and plans and measurement, and maybe probability can also be included here. And this part must be 20% of the total paper, and it must be all level 1 questions, like I've already said. So 20 marks was then allocated for question 1, and it is a combination question. You will see our question 2 is going to be purely on maps and plans, and it's going to go for all the cognitive levels 1 up to 4. Our third question is going to be purely on measurement, and then our final question is going to be a combination of measurements and maps and plans. Colleagues, this is the new format, and like I say, this is now our interpretation, and let us see, we are still waiting to see also then what are we getting from DBE. Colleagues, in the first question, we were given a cell phone, and in the cell phone, there was a time, a date, and here were some measurements given for the cell phone, and here are our level 1 questions. Now, I must tell you that it's not so easy to set purely level 1 questions. The best level 1 questions is, of course, if we go and ask definitions. But we also do not want to ask a lot of definitions. So learners are not always very keen to study. So we need to ask other level 1 questions, which we know that our learners will be able to do. The thing is, if we are going to start asking calculations, we are no longer on level 1, but we move to level 2. So we very much consult also that examination guideline. At the end of it, we see examples of level 1, 2, 3, and 4 questions, and we very much also look there to see what actually is a level 1 question. And you can also use that if you are setting your own papers to acquaint yourself with what is in fact a level 1, 2, 3 or 4 question. The first question simply wanted the learner to convert the seat thickness of the cell phone So the first mark is a RT mark for looking up 7,9 millimeter. So if the learner is working with 7,9 millimeter, doesn't matter what he's doing with it, but you can see that the learner is in fact working with 7,9, then you can give the RT mark. RT means the learner is reading correctly from the information given. The second mark is then the conversion mark. And the conversion mark is simply if we go from millimeter to centimeter, we are dividing by 10. So if the learner is, that is going to be the conversion at the end of the day. If the learner is, for example, working with the length, saying 151,7, and then convert that to make it let's say it 15,1 centimeter, the learner will of course not get the RT mark, but if the conversion is correct, the learner can get 1/2. The learner is working with the incorrect measurement. If the learner is working with the breadth, for example, and the learner is taking the 69,1 millimeter and converting that now, sorry, there must be a millimeter in there. We are not going to make a penalty for units. We don't have to do any penalty for units as long as we can see the final answer is in centimeter. If the learner take that and make it 6,91 and we take it correctly to centimeters, there is no RT mark because we are not working with 7,9, the thickness. We are working, in fact, in that case with the breadth, but you can then give a mark for the correct conversion, and the learner can get 1/2. Of course, in this case, if the learner do answer only, it is full marks, 2/2. The learner don't have to show you, the learner can just write 0,79 centimeter. I must just warn you, if the learner write 15,1 centimeter only as the answer, you cannot give 1/2. Remember, if we say answer only, we are referring to 0,79. The only answer we will accept is 0,79 for 2/2. If we say answer only, there's no 1/2. We cannot accept this as answer only and accept and give 1/2. This is not answer only acceptable. Okay? You cannot give 1/2 for this only if it is the answer. You can only give it if they show that they are making the conversion. I hope that is clear. 1.1.2 is then to write the time which is given here on this clock that you see here, or the time that is shown there on the cell phone, to give it in words. So if they are going to write it in words, the correct time will be 9 minutes to 12 in the morning, because the question clearly said that the learners must indicate whether the time is in the morning or in the afternoon. And because it is 11:51, it is not noon yet, we are going to say it is in the morning. There are 2 marks. It's 1 accuracy mark for saying 9 minutes to 12. For this whole part, it's 1 accuracy mark. And for saying in the morning, it is also 1 accuracy mark for that part. We always get learners who also do the following. They say 51 minutes after 11. Colleagues, this is not actually correct. It is not how we talk in when we are talking about time. It is not going to be accepted. Then we are not going to take it. The learner must say it's 9 minutes to 12. After 12:30, we start saying to a certain time, not after a time. So please teach your learners the right format. I don't want this, but if they say then in the morning, you can give the other mark. For anything which says in the morning, you can give this mark, and the learner can get 1/2. The next question is then asking the learners to choose a formula. Which one of the formula can be used to calculate the area of the top part of the cell phone? Well, the top part of the cell phone, and if you go and look it is clearly a rectangle. So the area the formula that is correct is the one that say length times breadth, and that is B, and that is 2 marks. So either the learners must write out the correct formula for 2 marks, and that is the accuracy mark. Accuracy means this is the only thing that is accepted, nothing else. If your learner go and maybe do this and say it is length times breadth, we can accept that for 2 marks. But none of the other formula are accepted. None of them is going to be acceptable. Alternatively, the learner can just write it's B, because here you will see that they are clearly marked A, B, C, D. Okay, so it's 2 marks. Either the learner get 2 marks or 0 marks. The learner cannot get 1 mark in this question. 1.1.4 then is, they say the torch is left on for 76 minutes and 82 seconds. Now, if the torch is left on for this period of time, they say you must now take this period of time and you must write it in hour, minutes, and seconds. Now, the 76 minutes is, of course, more than 60 minutes. 60 minutes is 1 hour. And then there is still another 16 minutes which is left if I take the 60 minutes to 1 hour. If I look at the 82 seconds, then I can split it up in 60 plus 22, of which that 60 is 1 minute. And then I have 22 seconds. So if I take now that hour, it's 1 hour. That 16 minutes get that extra minutes, which make it 17 minutes, and then that 22 seconds go there. Now, here are 2 accuracy marks for writing the correct answer of 1 hour, 17 minutes, 22 seconds. So, in this case, we are going to mark kind of negatively. If any part of the hour, the minute or second is not there or incorrect, you will subtract a mark. So say for instance the learner write 1 hour, 17 minutes, but forget about the seconds, the learner will get 1 mark only. If the learner write because the seconds are not there. If the learner, for example, write 17 minutes, 22 seconds, then the learner will get only 1 mark because the hours are not there. Now, maybe some learners forgot to take this 6 minutes. Maybe they forgot to take this 1 hour. Let us say they forgot to take this hour 2 minutes. So they end up saying you have 60 plus 17, 77 minutes, 22 seconds. Again, the 22 seconds is correct, but this part is incorrect. So it's still just 1/2. 1/2, because this part was not correctly taken to hours and minutes. So whatever part is incorrect, if all 3 parts are incorrect, of course the learner will get 0. Okay. You subtract 1 for any part that's correct. If 2 parts are incorrect, then it's already 0 marks. 1.1.5, what will the weight or the mass then be of 12 of these Samsung S20 cell phones in kilogram? Now remember now that one cell phone, if you go and look at the information provided, one cell phone has a mass of 163 grams. So 12 cell phones will have a mass of 1,956 gram. Now there is an accuracy mark on 1,956 gram. There's no penalty for unit here. Okay, so since there's no penalty for unit, if that gram is not there, it's fine. But if you see 1956, there is an accuracy answer. And then there is 1 mark for converting to 1,000, for converting to kilogram. In other words, for dividing by 1,000 and for getting to kilogram. This is conversion, and it is also accurate. So pretty much this is the only 2 things that a learner can do, except that we will take answer only. If the learner write immediately 1,956 kg, and only that, the learner will get the 2 marks. The learner do not have to write first the mark in gram. Okay, so that is very important, that the answer only can be accepted here. Sorry, also here in the previous question, answer only, the learner does not have to show you where do they get the answer from. They can just give you the answer. They didn't have to show you where the minutes is coming from. Answer only will also get full marks in that case. Okay, colleagues, 1.2.1. 1.2, we had, I had various phone calls, or in my district, actually I only had 1 phone call from 1 school who requested me to give another version of the map. Now here you can see my map. For me the map is visible in the sense that I can answer the questions that are posed in the question paper. Maybe not everything is so 100% visible, but the questions that are going to be answered is going to, you will see, I will be able to answer them. But I do apologize maybe for the quality of the map. It is always a problem when it comes to maps to find a map that will at the end of the day copy perfectly. Secondly, it is also a problem because you at your schools are having your own copying facilities, and those copying facilities are not all the same. So some of you get very clear copies and others of you are not getting very clear copies when you are making copies of these things. But let us see how can we accommodate maybe possible problems that could have arisen from this map that was maybe not 100% clear. 1.2.1 asked only if you look at this to identify the scale which is used on the map. Now, I want you to go and look at the copy that your learners got, and whether it is possible to see. They don't have to be able to see those numbers, 50 and 100 and 300. It is not necessary to see the numbers, but is it possible to see that there is a bar scale? If you answer yourself, yes, it's possible to see there's a bar scale, then I'm satisfied, because the answer here was just bar scale. The learners only had to identify the type of scale used. And that is for 2 marks. And it's 2 accuracy marks. The learners can either say bar scale, they can also call it a graphic scale. Okay? And that is for 2. They cannot get 1 mark here. If they just say bar, it's fine. You can just, because the word scale is on that, is the thing set on the paper, what identify the scale. So if the learners just write bar, the paper already say it's a bar scale, then please give the 2 marks. If they just say graphic, give the 2 marks, because it says already you identify the scale. It's fine, you can give the 2 marks. If they don't write the word scale, it's fine. In 1.2.2, they're asked to identify the most northern neighboring country. Now, if you look at the neighboring countries, all of these are actually on the northern side because there is the north. Check if your learners can see that north is pointing upwards. Actually, in general, we know this is South Africa. We are on the southern tip of Africa, and the north is in that direction. But check if you can see the north. Here we can see our northern countries, but if you go and look at the most northern one, here Botswana start, here Mozambique start, but the one that start most northern that you can see here on the map, it is Zimbabwe. So the correct answer there is Zimbabwe, and it's for 2 accuracy marks. It can only be Zimbabwe. And it's only 2 marks. It's 2 or nothing. You cannot give the learner 1 mark here. It's 2 marks, Zimbabwe. If we go and look now at the next question, they ask the learners to identify the national roads that a person will use if they travel from Cape Town to Springbok and then to Uppington. So the person go from Cape Town up to Springbok over to Uppington. Now here on my map, I can clearly see it's N7 and N14. And these are the 2 that you see here on my memo. N7 for 1 accuracy mark, N14 for 1 accuracy mark. Now I want you to go and check the map that your learners had. Go and take a paper from one of your learners and go and check, is there now, what were they able to see? Could they see that N7? Could they see that N14? If it was clearly visible, you mark this question. 1 for N7, 1 for N14. If it was not visible, then I want you to do the following. If not visible, you do not mark this question. Don't mark. Then this paper will have a total of 98. And you will, at the end of the day, convert the 98 back to 100. That is only and only if you rule that the copy of your learners regarding this and this question alone, because the rest is mostly visible. The only thing that was really small was these things. So I will advise, so only 1.2.3. If you really make a judgment, and your subject advisor, when they do moderation at the end of the year, will confirm this. So you will have a copy available so that the subject advisor can confirm. And if provincial moderation takes place and your files must go for provincial moderation again, you will submit evidence that this was not visible, and then these 2 marks will not be counted. The next question then was going to be about any 2 coastal towns in KwaZulu-Natal on the map. Because there are, of course, more coastal towns, the thing is just that they are not appearing on the map. I don't want any other ones because I don't want people to go and look up what are coastal towns. Coastal towns means they are at the sea. Now, if you go and look, you will see clearly there is one. Here is KwaZulu-Natal, first of all. Right next to KwaZulu-Natal, there is at the seaside, printed Richards Bay. And just below it, you see here is printed Pietermaritzburg and Durban. Durban is at the seaside. Pietermaritzburg is not at the seaside. So here on the memo, the two that is most likely is Richards Bay and Durban. Should the learner go further maybe and say Port Shepstone? Port Shepstone is also correct. And I also looked up if maybe they see that St. Lucia and they say St. Lucia, it's also correct. Okay, so any one of these, any two of them can be accepted for 2 marks. But now we come back to that original remark that say that if the candidate presents any extra solution when reading from a graph, a table or a layout plan, then you must subtract an extra mark. Say for instance the learner write, Richards Bay, Durban, and now they are not sure about all these things and they go and they write, for example, East London. Some learners write a lot of them in the hope that they get a lot of them right. It doesn't matter even in what position is East London. Now they would have got maybe 2 marks for those two. But the moment they come with an extra solution, they lose that mark. They only get 1/2. It doesn't matter. Now that rule of the first 2 answers don't apply because they are busy listing. It is anyway still one solution. It's not an extra solution or a new solution. They are listing from a map. Any extra thing that they present which is not correct, we are going to eat 1 mark. If they come with another extra one, sorry about that. Say for instance they do this. They write Richards Bay. They write Durban. They write Pietermaritzburg, which is wrong. And they write East London. This one would have been right. This one would have been right. This is not right. There goes that mark. This is not right. There goes that mark. And the learner will get 0/2. Because they are presenting solutions on top of correct solutions which are not right. So for additional solutions, we subtract the mark again. Okay? The next one. What is the name of the most southern tip of Africa? Or of South Africa or whatever? It was supposed to say South Africa. But anyway, the most southern tip of Africa, the most southern tip of South Africa, it is here. You can clearly see it here. South Africa is already the southern tip of Africa. Here it is stated. Cape Agulhas is the most southern tip of South Africa. It's the most southern tip of Africa. So there it is. Cape Agulhas. You can see clearly there. Here is Africa. South Africa is part of Africa. The most southern tip here is Cape Agulhas. So the answer is Cape Agulhas. Say for instance the learner is in doubt. It's 2 marks, 2 accuracy marks. Okay? Say for instance the learner write Cape Agulhas and add the extra one. They also throw in, just for the fun of it, they throw in Hermanus. For Cape Agulhas, the learner was going to get 2 marks. But now because Hermanus is there, we must subtract 1 mark. And the learner will end up with 1/2. Anything extra that the learner lists, we are going to eat a mark. Because it shows that the learner is doubtful about what actually is going to be, at the end of the day, the solution to the problem. Okay, and that is question 1. Question 1, like I say, it is the level 1 questions. It's supposed to be direct questions. It's supposed to be so that the learners can see what more or less is, or it is supposed to make the learners comfortable. It is easy questions. The learners are supposed to get the answers directly from the question paper, or they are supposed to just share the knowledge that they have directly. Let's move to question 2. Question 2 is our map question. You will see it is a map with a grid. On this side, the grids A, B, C, D, and from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 9. Here is a north in. The first question is just asking to give the grid reference from the mouth of the Orange River, and you will see the mouth of the Orange River is there. Now the learners are supposed to know that if this little block is A, this is B, this is C, this is D, here is the next block, and that block will be E. So the correct grid reference there will be E1. And let us split the mark. I'm sorry, the 2 A's are missing here. Let us make the first E, if the learner mentions E, we make it 1 accuracy mark, and if the learner mentions 1, we make it another accuracy mark. Okay? 2 marks for giving that correct reference. If the learners write 1E, 1E, let us give the 2 marks also, as long as we can get the block then there as a reference. 2.2, where the learner must now determine the total length in miles of the South African coastline if the coastline of the Eastern Cape is approximately 500 meters long. Now you will see here in the given information it was stated that the Eastern Cape has approximately a 800 kilometer long coastline. So the 800 kilometer long, which was given in the information, must now be equated with the 500 miles. So at the end of the day, I am now going to get, I'm going to work with that equation, that 2 things which I'm equating. Then I also need to know that the South African coastline measures 2,798 kilometers from the mouth of the Orange River to, from here, the whole coastline up to Ponto, to Oro, there in Mozambique. There it measures that whole coastline. It measures that 2,798 kilometers. So at the end of the day, what I need to know is, if I have my 800 kilometers, which will equate the 500 miles, I have that ratio, because remember it wasn't given how many miles is how, 1 mile is how many kilometers. That wasn't given, but it was given that 800 kilometers is indeed 500 miles. Now what I want to know is this 2798 kilometers. How many miles will that be? So then it becomes an ordinary ratio problem where I'm going to divide up and I'm going to multiply down. So I'm going to say 2,798 divide by 800 multiply by 500, and the answer will be 1,748.75 miles. That is doing an ordinary ratio calculation. Okay, so there is an accuracy mark, first of all, for seeing this part that 800 kilometers is equal to 500 miles. The conversion mark, this is the equating is 800 kilometer and 500 miles. For seeing that in a way, if you can see that the learner saw that, there is an accuracy mark for that, first of all. Now the conversion mark is now for bringing in this whole ratio thing, because what I'm doing is I'm now using this ratio to convert those kilometers to miles. I'm converting kilometers, that 2798 kilometers, I'm converting it to miles using actually that conversion ratio, and then CAing the final answer. Now I can only CA the final answer if I was on the right track. Remember, the rule says here in the beginning, if I make, here it says, no CA mark after a breakdown. So if the learner messes up here completely, if they multiply with 800 and divide with 2798, you cannot go and give a CA mark. Another thing, consists, however, stops at the second calculation error. So please be careful. You cannot give that CA just for any nonsense. You need to be able to see that the learner multiplied with 2798 and divided with 800. You cannot go and do something funny. Actually, the 2798 is kind of, okay, the 500 was on the paper. So that two things should be in the calculation before you can go and CA. That is if you use option 1. You will see there's a couple of other options. Let us look at option 2. If we say L is the length of the South African coastline, then we can say if 800 is equal to 500, 2,798 will be equal to the length of the South African coastline. 800 kilometers is equal to 500 miles. Then 2,798 kilometers will be equal to 500, the length in miles. Okay, now you can just go and do a overcross, or you can do manipulation. You can say again maybe over cross multiplication, and at the end of the day you will come up with 1,748.75 miles. Okay, the kilometers will then equate for you the miles. You equate those two. 800 kilometers is so many miles, so 2,798 kilometer will be how many miles, and if you work it out, you can divide and multiply just like there, and you will get 1,748.75 miles. You will see answer only, because some of these learners can do this by equating and just doing the calculation and getting the answer. Answer only will get full marks. So here is a mark for the concept of seeing that 800 goes with 500, so 2798 goes with the length of the coastline. And then they equate and they work out. Okay, another thing that they can say is, if L is the length of the South African coastline and 800 kilometer is 500 miles, then 1 kilometer, we start with this, 800 kilometers is 500 miles, so 1 kilometer will be 500 divided by 800 kilometers, 500 miles, divided by 800 kilometers. And then you take this ratio and you multiply it by 2,798 miles to go and get the 1,748.75 miles. It's basically the same, because there is the ratio that you multiply with 2,798. So your concept is still 800 kilometer must be equated with 500 miles. The thing is just now you're going to work with 1 kilometer at the end of the day. Okay, So 3 marks if the learners can see that there is that idea, and then secondly, if the learners can work with a ratio and then CA the final answer. But if more than 2 mistakes or 2 mistakes are made, no CAing of the final answer. Please note that answer only can get full marks. 2.3 is asking the learners or to use the map to list the coastal provinces of South Africa in descending order according to the length of their coastlines. Now, the coastal provinces of South Africa, let us just go from there to there, and we write them down, and then we can order them. The first one that I see here is KwaZulu-Natal. Okay, there it is. The second one that I see here, if I work with these borders, remember there's borders, and there's borders, and there's a border. If I work from this border to this border, the next one that I see is Eastern Cape. Now I go and I see from this border to this border to this border to this border. If I look at this whole thing, because those lines are the different provinces. And kids should know that, because this is in general, if we indicate something or some as parts of South Africa, we do it with borders to show the different provinces. That is Western Cape. And then here is the last little part, and that is Northern Cape. So this are the 4 things that they must use. KZN, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, and Northern Cape, if you agree. Now they say we must do it in to list the coastal provinces. Here I listed them for you. Coastal means they are on the coast, of course. They are at the seaside. Coastal means they are next to the sea. So in descending order of the lengths. So if you must now with your eye look and see which one of these things do look for you the longest. If you look at that one, I'm just checking with my finger, 1, 2 fingers more or less. If I use the tip of my finger there, and here is 1, 2, maybe a bit of another finger, and here is 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers, and here is 1.5. The longest one is definitely Western Cape. Do you agree? I want descending. So which one is next? The next one is this one. I can see it with the eye, but otherwise I can measure with my fingers. 1, 2 and a bit. Eastern Cape. Then the next one is 1, 2, KZN. And then the next one, this one is very short. It's Northern Cape. So you will see here is Western Cape, Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Northern Cape. Just like I wrote them here. And I saw it with the eye. Or I measured it with my finger. Or if you really want to go and take a ruler and measure the ruler, move the ruler and get a more or less measurement, because you will definitely not get an accurate measurement. So, how do we mark this? These are the 4 coastal times. So, naming the coastal provinces, writing Western Cape, Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Northern Cape. Of course, you can do this, no problem. No problem doing this. Okay? Western Cape, Eastern Cape, KZN, Northern Cape. You can do this. Okay? Writing the 4 of them then. Putting them in the correct order is going to be 2 marks. The moment one of them is off, then let's say the learner write Western Cape, KZN, Eastern Cape, Northern Cape. It's -1 per mistake. They swap these two around. So it's 1 for naming the provinces. Now they make 1 mistake here, so it's 1 for the order. If they make 2 mistakes, it's 0 for the order. For example, they write Western Cape, KZN, Northern Cape, Eastern Cape. This one is in the wrong position, this one is in the, this is position 1, this is position 2, this is position 3, this is position 4. This one is in position 1, it's right. KZN must be in position 3, it's in position 2, it's wrong. Northern Cape must be in position 4, it's in position 3, it's wrong. Eastern Cape must be in position 2, it's in position 4, it's wrong. You can get 1 mark for naming. Okay? You can only swap 2 provinces. If you swap more, gone. Swap 2 for 1 mark. More or anything else, gone. You can only swap 2 for 1 mark. If I can rather put it so. You can only swap 2 for 1 mark. Otherwise, it's 0. Okay? I hope that is clear. 2.4. Annie measured the length of the coastline on her map and found it to be 2 to 3 millimeter long. That is 2.4. Determine the scale of the map in the form round of the answer to the nearest 100,000. Okay, remember only grade 12 must be able to determine the scale of a map. Grade 10 and 11 don't have to be able to determine the scale of a map. So typical grade 12 question, level 3 question. She measured it to be 23 millimeter long. And we know then here it is given that that coastline, the actual is 2798. Remember, to be able to determine the scale, we are looking for a measurement on the map. And we need to equate that with a measurement in real life. We are looking for a measurement on the map that we can put for a measurement in real life. However, that will be step 1. Step 2 will be to make the units the same. So first we must look for those 2 things that we can put to, that we can equate. So they have put us on the right track to say that the length of the coastline on the map is 2 to 3 meter long. So here we know it's 2 to 3 meter on the map, and we know in real life it is 2798 kilometer. So the 2 millimeter on the map is 2798 kilometer. So when we are determining a scale, our first step is then going to be to convert this to the same unit. Now, I'm going to go, in this case, this one here, the millimeter is kept as millimeter, and this one here is kept as, is taken to millimeter. Now, when I go from kilometer to millimeter, remember my kilometer to meter to millimeter thing. Sorry, I left out my centimeter and then my millimeter. It's 1,000, 100, 10. So if you go all the way from kilometer to millimeter, it's 1,000, 110. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros that I need all the way. So I'm going to multiply by 1 million. Now that correct conversion of kilometer to millimeter is 1 mark. That's the first thing. You need to put these two things in the same unit. Then when you have these two things in the same unit, you need to make it 1:2. So you're going to divide with whatever is standing here. So if you're going to divide, if here it stands 2 to 3, you need to divide there by 2 to 3. So this conversion implies that you must divide by 2 to 3 because you want it in the format 1:2. You want a unit scale. The scale on a map is always a unit scale if it is a number scale. And if you do the division sum, you get that 12,547,085.2 millimeter. That simplification is another mark. Okay? Now the question clearly says round off the answer to the nearest 100,000. Now where is 100,000? Here is 100,000. 500,000. Now if you say 547,000, is it closer to 500,000 or is it closer to 600,000? Of course, because it's 547, it's not over 550,000, so I'm rounding to 500,000. And that rounding is another mark. Of course, some of the learners will go directly from there to here. Then they can get the simplification and the rounding mark in one step. Okay? And that is for 4 marks. So first of all, correct conversion, putting kilometer to millimeter, putting dividing by 2 to 3, this value is another mark, simplifying and then rounding. This can be one step, then it can be 2 marks on simplifying and rounding. There is, if not rounded, penalize 1. You must penalize the learner because it clearly says rounded to the nearest 100,000. That is what is specified on the paper. 2.5 gives the general direction of East London from Durban. From Durban, Durban is there. If I can go and make, there is my Durban. If I can go and make my, my set of axes there with my north, since there is north, south, east, west there. So if I now go and make a line to East London, sorry for not doing it accurately with a ruler, I can clearly see that it is southwest. When the questions say from Durban, it means my set of axes must be on Durban. So there is from Durban, draw a line to East London, and when I do that, I see the answer is southwest, or it can be abbreviated south, SW. 2 accuracy marks, 2 or nothing. South of west can still go, or west of south can still go, but nothing else. Okay? Please teach your learners how to do this correctly, but for now, accept south of west or west of south. Okay. It is not correct actually to say that, but 2 accuracy marks. Finally, 2.6, any remarks that a person who wants to enter Lesotho needs a passport. Is any correct? If you go and look on the map, here is the map. Of course, we said now already the provinces are indicated with these lines that shows the different provinces. There you see our beautiful Free State, and we know that Lesotho is here next to us. There we also see Namibia. You will see that it is shaded. And here we also see where Ponto do Oria is where it says it's Mozambique. See, we see it's shaded there. Lesotho is shaded. The question is Annie correct? And give a reason for your answer. And the answer is simply yes, Annie is correct. For saying correct, we can get the learner 2 marks. Even if the learner do not give a reason, just for saying correct, 2 marks. Now the reason for this is anything pertaining to the following. We are moving to another country. We are moving from one country to another country. We are looking for something that tells us that Lesotho is no longer a part of South Africa. Lesotho is another country, and hence a passport is required. Another thing that learners can say is crossing the border between the 2 countries. But you can look for any other possible reason, good reason, but please, it must be pertaining to you are entering a new country. It is no longer South Africa. It must be something related to that. So the 2 marks, first of all, is just for saying correct, can get 2 marks. If they just say correct and they do not say any reason, gives the 2 marks. But if you want to give the other marks, because it's 4 marks, look for a reason such as the following. Okay, colleagues, that's question 2. It was the map question for 18 marks. Maps, of course, counts a little bit less than our, our measurement question. So the next question is going to be our question, which is pertaining to measurement. And let's do that question. Colleagues, this question was a swimming pool, and this swimming pool that were doing here consisted of various parts, and this various parts of the swimming pool at the end of the day had different measurements. Now, for those of you who maybe have recognized the question, it is a question that came from the November 2016 NSC paper. So if you want to remind yourself, the question is there in the November 2016 NSC paper. I took the question exactly like so over into this paper. I always liked the question, and I always felt it's a little bit demanding, and it brings about, everything comes together for me in this question that we need of measurement. Except now for the second part on the medals. Up to 3.1.3, the question is exactly from the November 2016 NSC paper. Okay, in the first part of the question, learners were supposed to go and show with calculations that the maximum capacity of the swimming pool is 765 meter cube. Now, please be reminded that the 765 centimeter cube, this value, is on the question paper. They must get this value. So if you go and look, what was fortunately given, it was given that the swimming pool, the section B part, this is given. That section B is 300 cubic meter. It's given. So the learners don't have to work out the capacity for section B. They only have to work out the capacity for section A. Now we're going to mark this question as follows. We are going to give 2 marks for the capacity of section C. We're going to give 2 marks for the capacity of section A and 1 mark for adding and getting the final answer, where they must also bring in now the section B part. So the question counts 5 marks. All right. So please check on the original memo. No, I'm sorry, it was 5 marks. So I made here now a note where I say 2 marks must be given for the capacity of section C, 2 marks must be given for the capacity of section A, and 1 mark must be given for correctly adding and getting an answer. And the answer for adding and getting, an answer. Each part is independent. So if you don't give the C, you can, if this is wrong, you can mark this independent, and we're going to mark this independent. Okay, so how do I get the capacity of section C? What the learners must know is that capacity is in this case more the same as volume. And the volume formula was given that the volume of a rectangular prism is length times width times height. So for this section C, for that capacity, what we're going to mean is simply we're going to work with the measurement of 5 times 1,2, and since we are dealing, there is the 1,2, since we are dealing with this section, the other part then has that 15 meter. So the first part mark is just for substituting correctly into the formula. So putting 5 and 1,2 and 15 into the formula is 1 mark, all 3 values. Then there is a CA mark of, when I multiply those, I get 90 cubic meter, but at least 2 of the 3 values that you SF must be correct. You cannot make a lot of mistake. You can only have 1 maybe off. All right. Then when we look at the capacity of section A is this part, and if we look here, it's section A, it's 2 meter, it's 12,5 meter, and it's now this part of the swimming pool. So the depth that we're going to be working, there is the 2 meter, there is the 12,5 meter, and then if we're going to be working with the depth meter, it's going to be the other part will be the 15 meter that you see here, the 2, the 12, and then also the 15 meter. So the capacity of section A will be 2 meter times 12,5 meter times 15 meter, and that's 365 cubic meter. Here are no penalty for units at this stage. If they don't write the units, you know the learners don't write the unit. So again, SF, all 3 values must correctly substituted to get the SF marks. Then I can see A if at least 2 of the 3 values that was substituted into the formulas are correct. Then I can see A here. Okay? And now finally, the maximum capacity will be when I add all 3 these values, and that is now 90 plus 375 plus the 300. This 300 is on the paper. It must be 300. Then there is a CA. So it says MA, adding capacities. Let's make it CA. The mark should be there. Adding the capacities. I don't want to make it method with accuracy. So say, for instance, the learners make a mistake here and they get the capacity, I don't know of what, 70. And they make a mistake here and they get a capacity of 320 cubic meter. When they come now here and they add 70 plus 320 plus 300, we are going to check the total. 300 plus 320 is 370. This will be 620, 690 cubic meter. Then we will see A. This last part is independent. Whatever they find those capacities to be, but they must add 300. We can only see A if at least two values are added. No, sorry. I want all three values. If three values are added. They must take, it is CA because they can take that wrong value, CA they can take that wrong value. They must take one value must be 300. One value must be 300 cubic meter. So this, whatever they get there is the answer, whatever they get there is the answer, even if they get 0 here. Even if they get 0 here. But they take this answer, they add 300 and they get the answer. They can get the final mark. Okay. Or, there's an or, sorry. The or is where they do everything actually in one step. They take the capacity of this is the capacity of A. 2 times 12,5 times 15, you will see it's the capacity of A, plus 90, something moved here, I'm sorry. The capacity 5 times 12 times 50, this one here should be 300. Plus 5 times 12 times 15, then that is 5 times 1,2. Let us just check. This one is 8, 2 times 12,5 times 15, and then it is 300, plus C is 5 times 1,2 times 15. I'm sorry, there is some typos on the memo. Then they add all of them, and you see the answer. In other words, it's exactly the same as this, but you are just doing the whole thing in one step. So again, there's a SF for the correct values for A. So there is SF. And there is a SF for correct values for C. There is that SF. CA, the capacity for section A, it's that one, the 375. CA, the capacity for section C, it's that one, the 90. And then let's make it CA. I don't want to make it method with accuracy because they are not going to, they must get 765 because it stands on the memo, but they are just going to add everything. Let them just add everything and get the mark. They should get 765. That is why in the final exam we wanted method with accuracy. But for now, let us just give them a mark if they just add the things together. It's going to complicate maybe their marking further, but let us further make rather a plan to accommodate. For now, let us give them a mark. I'm going to change this to CA. I will change the memo and I will make a memo available with marking notes. Okay, so they can get then an adding mark here. 3.1. Oh, sorry, here is the last one. You can study this last option. I doubt whether our learners will do it, but just take note of it. If in the interest of time, I'm not going to discuss this last option now. Okay. It is where they work with the volume beneath each of those things. If you find something like that, just consider the explanation on the right. Let us rather discuss 3.1.2. At 3.1.2, they say, calculate the volume of the water in gallons required to fill the swimming pool to 94% of its capacity. Now, in 3.1.1, they said that the capacity is 765. Hence, it was not said here CA from the previous question, that you must CA whatever they got as the answer there. Hence, they made it a method with accuracy here that it must be 765. Now, I said, let us make it a CA. But here, we are going to be strict. We are going to make this first mark an accuracy mark. We are going to make it, you can only work out 94% of 765 because it was said that it must be 94%, that the capacity is 765 cubic meter. So if they made the mistake there, they must then at least realize that that thing that they did was wrong, but that the capacity is then 765 cubic meter. So please ignore this. I was thinking we must accommodate it, but now I think no, it's going to complicate your marking. Let us not accommodate it. We only allow 94% of 765, so we only allow 719.1 cubic meter. That is our first mark. It's an accuracy mark. It's the one and only value for 94% that we will allow. Calculating 94% of 765 and getting 719.1. It's accuracy. Second mark is now to convert this to liters. In other words, we multiply by 1,000 and we put it into liters. Okay? Now, once we have it in liters, we need to put it into gallons. Now, the gallons conversion was given here. Remember, it's an imperial unit, the gallon. And if it's an imperial unit, we must be given the conversion factor. Now, it's stated here that 1 gallon is 3.785 liters. So, if we have now 719,100 liters, what I must do, divide up. I'm going to say 719,100 divided by 3.785 gallons. So that conversion mark is for dividing by 3.785. And then we are going to get 189,986.79 gallons as the answer. So actually, at the end of the day, look, they can only get this conversion if they divide. If they multiply, no, CA. Okay? They must divide by 3.785. If something goes wrong and they divide by 3,785, then you can go and CA the answer. But if they multiply, we are not going to give the CA answer. Or if they do anything else with that 3.785. Okay, that is for 4 marks. 1 accuracy mark for calculating 719.1, that is 94% of 765. 1 mark for converting to liters. If they now go and calculate 94% of whatever they have there, then they lose this accuracy mark. They take it to liters, it's fine. They take it to gallons by dividing, it's fine. You see whatever they divide by 3.785, it's fine. They can get 3/4. 3.1.4, there is now a little bit of a more complicated calculation. Sorry, let me just get to my English part. The pool must be topped up to 135,000 liters of water due to water loss. The pool is filled with water at a constant rate of 2,350 liters per hour. Simone says it will take exactly 2.5 days to top up the pool. Verify showing all calculations if her statement is valid. Okay. What we know is that in 1 hour, we can, the water is filling the pool at a constant rate of 2,350 liters per hour. So, the 2,350 liters per hour that you see here can be interpreted that in 1 hour, 2,350 liters of water flow into the pool in 1 hour. So, how many liters will flow into the water in 1 day? In 1 day, 2,000, something is now not right here, sorry. 2,350 times 24 liters will flow into the pool. I'm sorry, let me just quickly verify here. I don't know, is here now a typo? It seems to me like that. Sorry, 2,350 times 24. I'm sorry, yes, this is correct. 56,400. Please, there is a typing mistake. Just take out that 4 there. It's just 2,350 times 24. Then I get 56,400 liters. That is coming per day into the water. So how in 2.5 days, how much water will flow into the pool? So if I multiply 56,400 liters with 2.5 days, I get 141,000 liters of water coming into the pool. And if you go and look how much water must come into, it must be topped up with 135,000. So if you compare the value with 135,000 liter, then you see it is not correct. So at the end of the day, the statement is not valid. How are we going to give marks? We are first of all going to give a method of accuracy mark if they take the liters and they multiply it by 24. So if they take 2,350 and they multiply it by 24, they can get that first method with accuracy mark. Then there is a CA mark for calculating that number of liters, 56,500 liters. Okay. Now, if they are going to multiply the liters by 2.5, whatever answer they get there, they multiply it by 2.5. There's a method with CA, and then you can CA the answer if at least one of the values are correct. In other words, taking into consideration that you must multiply with 2.5. At least the 2.5 must maybe be there, but that this one can be a CA value. This one comes from there, CA. Then you can get the value there. Comparing it then with 135,000. If it's not 135,000, the learner must say it is not valid. Colleagues, this is kind of an independent mark. We can give it if the learner do a lot of calculations and the learner come up to 135,000 liter and the learner say it is valid, it's fine. But we cannot give this mark if there is no calculations. So this mark can only be given if calculations are done. But we can say it is kind of an independent mark. Based on the calculations of the learner. Okay, that will be your first solution. 1 mark, method with accuracy, when they say 2,350 times 24. CA, if one of the values are correct. Because if they make 2 mistakes, then you cannot CA. Then multiplying with that answer, what they get there with 2.5 is a method mark. CA, if at least one of those values are valid, taking in consideration that the one is a CA value. CA the answer, if one of the values are correct, and then make a conclusion based on their calculations. Okay. Now, that is if we are comparing the number of liters. In this second option, we are not comparing the number of liters. We are getting the number of hours. We are working out how many hours is it going to take to fill the pool. So in this conclusion, we are not comparing with liters. We are comparing it with 2.5 days. Here we are comparing with liters because we are working out liters. Now we're going to work out days and we are going to compare days. So how do we do that? We take the 135,000 liters that must go into the pool and we divide it by the rate of 2,350 liters per hour. If you do that, we get the hours of 56,440 hours. Okay. If you do exactly how much is that 56,440 hours, I'm sorry, just bear with me for one moment. I just want to make that sum quickly here. 135,000 divided by 2350. The hours is exactly 57,44. That should not be a 0. This is actually a 6. And then it's a 8. You know, I don't like to, we don't round off in between. It's a 8 and a 0 and a 8 and a 5. I like to write out the whole thing, 106. I see here on my calculator that if I do that sum, 57,446,808,5106. Now, if I take this last part, I take away the 57 and I take just that comma part, nee? And I take that comma part and I, now I'm going to first convert. That's 57 hours. Let us first just go and put now this 57 hours. 57 hours, 1 day is 24 hours. 2 days is 48 hours. So if I subtract from the 57, the 48, then I have 9 hours. Okay, so already I have from the 57, I have 2 days and 9 hours. And if I then take that 446, 808, blah, 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 then I get 27 minutes. Or however minutes. But the bottom line of the story is 2.5 days is not 2 days and 9 hours. 2 days is 2.5 days is 2 days and half of 24 hours, which is 2 days, 12 hours. So these two are not equal. so the statement is not valid. Okay, so what are we giving marks for? First of all, we are giving marks for finding the time taken. Okay, what we are going to do is, for this method, we are saying 145,000 divided by the rate. That is how we find the time taken. We take 130, it's a method with accuracy, this step. In other words, this is how it must be done. Then you can see the time. All right? Then after you split the time, you must go and split it up into days and hours and minutes, because you are going to find most now 57 comma something. So writing that now into days, hours and minutes is now the next step. Then getting saying that 2.5 days is 2 days, 12 hours, converting 2.5 days to hours is 1 mark, and then comparing and saying there's a conclusion of not valid is another mark. 1 mark method with accuracy, dividing by the rate. 1 mark for CA, 1 mark for splitting that CA time into days, hours and minutes. 1 mark for writing 2.5 days as days and hours. Minutes will be 0 minutes, and then finally a mark for the days, for saying not valid. Okay? You will see in the next one, the next OR. It is pretty much the same, but what is happening here is they find the time taken, finding let us know, and then they multiply with 24 and add 12 hours. Okay, let us ignore this one for now. The rest is all to do with time, working with time and then comparing with time. This is comparing time. It boils down to that one. This one is also comparing time. I just want to save time, sorry. So it is also going to boil back to that one. This one here, the last one, is another option which is going to go to the 141,000 liters, where they are converting, where they are getting the volume that is going to go into the water, and then where they then compare it with the 135,000 liter and saying it's not valid. You can look at that one as well. There's then 2 options where they are going to work with the liters and comparing the liters, and then there is more options where they are getting the time. But every time getting the time is going to be with exactly the same method, taking the liters and dividing it by the rate. And then there is different ways of how to compare the time. Okay. Let us go over to 3.2.1. This is now the one about the medal. This one was not in the paper. It's an addition now to this paper. Simone is planning to host a swimming competition where the winners will get gold medals. Those in second place will get silver medals, and those in third place will get a bronze medal. The medals will have the following dimensions. The diameter will be 55 millimeter and the thickness will be 4.5 millimeter. Now there you will be able to see the front of the medal, and then you will also be able to see there's an emblem of some kind, and here is just the back of the medal, which is just open. Each medal will have a ribbon with which it will be hanged around the neck of a prize winner, and the length of each ribbon will be 500 millimeter per medal. Okay, 3.2.1 simply say there are 25 swimming events in the competition. If there are 3 prize winners per event, calculate the total length of ribbon needed for all the medals in meter. So, what we have is there are 25 events, there are 3 prize winners per event, so in total we need 75 medals, so that each one of those prize winners can get, the first one will get gold, second silver, third bronze medals. So we need 75 medals. For each of the medals, we need a piece of ribbon, which is 500 millimeter per medal. So it's 75 times 500 millimeter, and that's 37,500 millimeter. And converting that into meter, because the answer must be in meter, it is specified like so. So here is going to be a penalty for unit. This unit must be penalty for final if final unit is not there. It must be meter. So the learner will say, I need 25, I've got 25 events, three prize winners per event, I need 75 medals. 75 times 500 millimeter, I need a total of 37,500 millimeter of ribbon. Converting that to meter, I divide by 1,000, I need 37.5 meter of ribbon. Answer only, full marks, but then it must be the final answer plus the unit. The unit of meter must be there. How will we mark it? There's an accuracy mark for getting 75. So if you see 75, you can give an accuracy mark. All right? Then there's an accuracy mark for multiplying it with 500 meter and with 500 and getting 37,500 millimeter. Then there's a conversion mark for converting it to meter, but the unit must be there. They cannot get just the unit, it's conversion plus unit to get the final 1 mark. The answer must be in meter. If they stop here in millimeter, it's 2 marks. If they write 37.5, they correctly convert, but they don't write the meter, it's 2 marks. To get the final mark, the meter must be there, 37.5 meter. Then it is going to be 3 marks. Answer only can get full marks, but only if the unit is there. If they only write 37.5, the unit is not there, then they can get 2 of the 3 marks. But you must penalize then 1 for not writing the final answer. Okay, so if they write only 37.5, no unit. So you want to give answer only, you can give 2, penalize 1 for unit. (3.2.2) Now they say if the ribbon costs R12.75 per meter, excluding VAT, calculate the total paid for the ribbon for all the medals, including VAT. Now you have calculated now here the total for all the ribbons, including VAT. Now actually here should be an instruction, CA from 3.2.1. I'm sorry, it must still be typed in here. I will do it on the memo with marking notes. What the learner must now do is the 37,5 must be multiplied with the price per meter to get 478 Rand, 125, 12.5 cents. Then that money, this is actually in Rand now. So then this money in Rand must be multiplied by 1,15 to get the VAT included amount. So how do I give marks? First of all, you are going to give the mark for multiplying by 12.75 per meter, because that is what is on the paper. We see A, but remember now, one value must at least be, at least one value must be correct. Bearing in mind that this value is from there. Remember, if the learners made a mistake here and they bring that mistake correctly down here and do the sum them correct in all other respects down here, then the learner must get full marks. Okay, so then there is a CA mark. Then for multiplying by 1,15, there is a method mark. And then we CA again at least the learner must we must be on the right track. Must be correct. Remember, instead of multiplying by 1,15, what we can do for this step, we can say 15/100 times 478,125. If I do that, I get 15/100 times 478.125, and that gives me 71.72, and then you add 478.125 plus 71.72, and that will give you the same answer of 549.84. In this case, you can put a mark on getting the 71. That method mark can go there, and the CA mark can then go here, where you add and get the final mark. Okay. 3.2.3a. Simone wants to spray the back of the medals with a black spray paint before she will add a small sticker. So the learners have to go and work out the area of the back of that medal. And the formula is given as area is pi times radius square. Now, the area, to work out then, the diameter was given, first of all. The diameter of the circle was given as 55 millimeter. Okay, I just want to check something here on the Afrikaans paper, because I realize now here is maybe a problem. Colleagues, I see that the value of pi is not given here. And that may be a problem because learners should be given the value of pi. Let me just sort this out finally. I'm going to do the memo as it is finally, but I see now in this copy that I'm having here with me that the value of pi is not given. And that may be problematic. And if that is a problem, because the value of pi is not there, then learners cannot work it out, then it may be, okay, let us do it as it is currently. If we need to make an adaptation here to the memo, I will communicate it to you via your subject advisors, or in my case with my people, we will put it on the group. First of all, the radius must be calculated by dividing the diameter by 2, which will give me 27,5. Pi, of course, is 3,142. So 3,142, I'm substituting for pi, and for the radius, I'm substituting 27,5. Now, I want to calculate the area in square meters. So what we do is we take the diameter of the radius now of millimeter, we take it to meter by dividing to 1000, and then it becomes 0,0275 times 3,142. Sorry, there's of course a square, and then there is the answer. That is the area of one of the medals. And they only ask for one of the medals. Sorry, they don't ask for more than one of the medals. The area of the face of the back of the medal. Sorry, here is this part actually does not belong here. So let's see how can we give marks. They only ask for one medal. First of all, getting the radius, calculating is method with accuracy. In other words, getting up to the point where you say the radius is 27,5 millimeter. That's one. Then we are going to put another mark on SF. 1 SF. In other words, substituting into this formula 3,142 for pi and 1 for the radius. And then we are going to put, sorry, forget that SF. Let us put 1 on converting. We have to convert the millimeter to meter. So 1 is on converting millimeter to meter. And then 1 will be a CA mark for getting the final answer there of 0,002376137.5. So your final answer can only be given if the formula was applied correctly. In other words, a square was done there and it was multiplied by 3,142. If formula was applied correctly. And the learner can stop there because it just asks for the area of one medal. Now we come to the next part where Simone wants to spray all the medals, and she's got this aerosol spray can, and she must spray 2 layers of the paint, and you must go and calculate how many spray pounds she's going to need. So first of all, she needs now the area to be sprayed for all the medals. So this part belongs already here to 3.2.3b to multiply by 75. And that will give rounded 0,18 meters square. This is of course not right to round already here in the beginning, but since it was now the answer there, let me just write the whole answer here. Sorry, 0.0275 times 0.0275 times 3.142. I get that whole long thing. I multiply it by 75. It will give me 0.1782103.125. And now we're going to have to bring that whole value here, 0.1782103.125. It's going to be multiplied by 2, and it will be rounded 0.36 still. And if it is rounded 0.36, we can see that we need only 5. It is less. We can need only 400. It will still be. We need only 1 can. So let us make the marks as follows. We give a method mark. Of course, we're going to have to now CA from 3.2.3a. Let's make it for multiply with 2 and 75. The 75 is to get all the medals, and the 2 is for the 2 layers. Then after we've done that, we get a CA value, and then to say that we only need 1 cane is another mark. So the first mark is a method mark. We make it MCA because it's going to come from here. We are going to multiply by 2. We're going to multiply by 75. If that is done, it's 1 mark. Give a CA mark if it is done correct, if at least the values of all of them are there. At least 2 out of the 3 values must be there. And then if the learner can make the correct deduction about the number of cans, another mark, and that's 3 marks. Okay, 3.2.4. For first prize, Simone managed to get 8 gift vouchers from Checkers, 6 from Woolworths, 6 from Pick n Pay, and 5 from Spar. What is the probability that a winner will get a gift voucher from Woolworths? Give your answer as a decimal rounded to 1 decimal place. If you add all the gift vouchers, 8 plus 6 plus 6 plus 5, you will see it adds up to 25 all in all gift vouchers. And then we say how many are from Woolworths. The probability will be 6 over 25. If on the calculator we divide 6 with 25, we get 0.24. And if we round it to 1 decimal place, it is going to be 0.2 only. In this case, there is a penalty for rounding because it was specified 1 decimal place. Okay, how are we going to mark? We're going to mark 6, the numerator, 1 mark, the denominator, 1 mark, and we're going to give 1 mark for, we're going to put a CA mark on the answer. Answer only can get 1 mark, or can get full marks, but then it must be 0.2. correctly rounded, okay? Because it was said in the question that it must be in a decimal format. If the learner write, however, 6 over 25, the learner can get 2 over and forget to do anything with it. In this case, the learner can get the 2 over 3 marks. Okay. Colleagues, I'm afraid I am not going to have enough time to do question 4 with you. It is on the memo, but what I will advise you to do is, if there is any questions about this question, to please contact your subject advisor. Personally, in Muteu, I will have tomorrow morning, tomorrow at 12 o'clock, again, Microsoft Teams session with my people in Mutayu, and then I will do question 4 there for the Mutayu colleagues, and then I will also make a memo available with these marking notes, and then I will share it with my subject advisor colleagues that can send it to the rest of you who are watching this video, and it will definitely will also go out to my Mutayu colleagues. My Mutayu teachers will receive it from me as soon as we have finalized the memo. I'm asking you to please still make my Mutayu teachers to make for me inputs on the groups as you are doing all the time. I'm getting questions about how to mark this, how to mark that. If you see alternatives that your learners are doing, please also send it to me. Then I add it to the memo. The more comprehensive our memo is, the better we are at marking this for our learners. Colleagues, thank you very much for joining me today for the memo discussion, and I hope that it helps you to mark this question paper. It's never easy to mark mathematical literacy question papers. I know that very well, but I hope this will assist. But should you need any further guidance, please do not hesitate to contact your subject advisor. The Mutayu colleagues, you know where to find your subject advisors. You are always very welcome to contact us, and all of you, please keep safe. We are living in difficult times. Fortunately, our learners did get an opportunity to write our paper. It was very important for us to write this paper at this stage so that our learners can start practicing the new format that we are going to be exposed to. Definitely, they are writing the new format in September and in the end of the year. But please keep safe and make sure that you look after yourselves in this very difficult time. Thank you very much.